Okay, let's get more on the independent review of the Health Services Union investigation now. We're joined by our political correspondent Melissa Clark in Canberra. Melissa, good morning. This KPMG report found some serious flaws in the way FWA went about investigating the union.
It certainly did. It raised a number of issues with Fair Work Australia where it says it needs to improve. It points to areas when it comes to investigation, saying that it's given it's not its primary role for Fair Work Australia, that it's inexperienced in this area, saying it doesn't have the staff and resources to do a strong investigation like it needed to into the two investigations that it did into the Health Services Union. It also points to a lack of proper operating procedures for investigations, that there's no safe way of handling documents, and crucially that not all lines of investigation were followed in the HSU investigations. The KPMG report found that the Fair Work Australia could have gone further into looking at electronic documents in particular from the HSU, things like restoring email accounts, getting calendars and electronic calendars, getting restored backups of the computer networks of the Health Services Union. So there were certainly some deficiencies found by KPMG. However, the KPMG was also very careful to note that it wasn't questioning the findings of the Fair Work Australia's report into the Health Services Union, that wasn't part of its job. And it also praised the way that some of the investigations had been done, in particular saying there was no issue with the interviews that had been conducted or the way that the reports were pulled together by the staff in the end. So the KPMG certainly finding that Fair Work Australia on the whole has quite some areas of improvement needed in terms of investigating union bodies in circumstances like this.
And despite not questioning the findings, we had Craig Thompson last night out there loudly proclaiming that he was in the clear.
Yeah, Craig Thompson is saying that this report exonerates him. Now, of course, Craig Thompson has had to stand aside from the Labor Party and is the subject of a number of investigations about his time when he was the National Secretary of the Health Services Union before entering Parliament as a Labor MP over allegations of misusing a union credit card and other improprieties. Now, Craig Thompson says that this report validates the concerns he raised himself in Parliament, that he had questioned the method of investigation, that he had said that key people weren't spoken to, and questioned the basis of this. Now, he says that if anyone wants to prosecute on the basis of the Fair Work Australia report, they're in dreamland, is how he described it, and he was very quick to grab onto the deficiencies pointed out by KPMG when he spoke to reporters in Parliament House last night.
Which clearly vindicates the position that I took in Parliament some time ago. I've consistently said from the start that this whole investigation was flawed. It's a series of allegations, accusations on which conclusions have been based. The KPMG report, they've spent over $450,000 showing that the report was flawed, which is consistent with what I've said right from the start. It's a whole range of areas where they've said they've made mistakes. Can I say that the concluded reports that have been done in the many investigations into me have reached very different conclusions to the Fair Work report.
Craig Thompson there, and finally, Melissa, the government and the opposition both agree that there are indeed flaws in the way this investigation was conducted, but that's where the similarities end.
It's only a very short point of agreement there. The Government Workplace Relations Minister Bill Shorten does concede that there are failings with Fair Work Australia and its approach, and he says that they are taking means to address some of those areas. He says they're under-resourced and undergunned, and conceded that some of those issues had led to the reviews taking so long, years, for Fair Work Australia to finish those reviews. However, he says that they can be mended and those issues can be addressed, and Fair Work Australia is still primarily doing a good job. On the other hand, we have the opposition workplace relations spokesman Erica Betts saying that there was gross incompetence, as he describes it, at Fair Work Australia, and he's calling for Fair Work Australia to be stripped of that investigative function and being left simply as the tribunal as such, and those powers given to an entirely new and separate body from Fair Work Australia and its tribunal arm as opposed to its administrative arm. So that battle still continues as well.